So these pictures all show natural hazards. I want you to have a look at them and think, how many can you name? And then can you group them in any way? So this first one, this is a tropical storm or a hurricane as you might know it. We then have, oops, so this is your hurricane. We then have your tornado. Over here we have an avalanche. Down here we have a landslide, flooding, drought, a volcano, an earthquake, and wildfire. So what we're going to look at during this lesson is we're going to start our new topic, which is all about natural hazards. So we'll look at what hazards are. We're going to then describe the different types and group them in different ways, explain what factors make hazards more risky, and then to make some judgments so to assess which factor we think has the greatest risk on hazard risk. So this is our new topic, the challenge of natural hazards. We're going to start with these definitions and start with the basics. Then we're going to go through our different types of hazard, looking at some case studies and some examples before we finish looking at climate change at the end of it. So for today, it's looking at natural hazards pose major risks to people and property. So when we categorise hazards, they can either be atmospheric, so ones that happen in the air. They can be geological, so ones that happen on the land, or you can have flooding, obviously too much water. So the ones that come under atmospheric, that would be anything to do with snowstorms, drought, tornadoes, hurricanes, lightning, storms. They're all atmospheric because they occur in the air. Your geological, they're going to be things like mud flows, avalanches, landslides, volcanoes, earthquakes, because they're to do with the land. And then your flooding, well, that's a bit of an overlap, I suppose, because that can be caused by your rain. So most of the natural disasters that we actually get tend to be caused by flooding. Flooding's the biggest problem. We've then got tropical storms, earthquakes, and droughts. So have a look at these two pictures. They both show a volcano, but I want you to think, well, which one is the problem and why? And again, have a look at these two pictures of a flood event. Which one is the problem and why? Here we have a blizzard. Which one is the problem and why? So out of those three sets of pictures, I'm hoping you all agreed that these pictures here on the left, these are the ones that are a problem, and these are the ones that aren't. The reason that these are a problem is because they affect people. And for that reason, they're called a natural hazard, because they have the ability to affect people. Whereas these ones here, they're called natural events because they don't affect people. This volcano is on an island where nobody lives, therefore it doesn't cause any problems. This flood event is just on a field that's not used for anything, therefore it doesn't create any problems. And this blizzard is where nobody lives, so again, doesn't cause any problems. And the way we look at that is through these two diagrams. So our natural hazard is when you have a natural event plus deaths, injuries, disruption to people, etc. That equals your natural hazard. If you have a natural event and no harm is done, so people aren't affected in any way, that is not a disaster or a hazard. So you can draw yourself these little diagrams if you like to help explain the difference between an event and a hazard. Another word we have is natural disaster. And a natural disaster is basically a really bad natural hazard. So it's an unexpected or uncontrollable natural event that threatens people. So it might cause deaths, might cause massive destruction. So we're now going to start thinking about what factors can affect hazard risk. If you click on this link to YouTube, watch through the video and then just write down what factors can affect hazard risk. What can make hazards more severe? So this picture here, have a look. What is it? What does it show? And why does this increase the risk of hazards? Then we've got this one. So what does this picture show? And why does this increase hazard risk? What does this picture show? And why does this increase hazard risk? And finally, look at these people. What does this show? Why does it increase hazard risk? So those factors that we had, the first one showed you urbanisation. So this is a huge city building, lots of people in one place. We then had climate change, so our changing climate. We then had building on floodplains, so it's linked to urbanisation in some ways, I suppose. Finally, we've got poverty. So they are the 4 factors that can lead to an increase in the number of people and the amount of risk that people face from natural events. There are some others, but we're just going to focus on these 4 for now. So have a read through those 4 different factors. You can make brief notes on them if you like, but I want you to think, well, which one do you think creates the greatest risk? Is it urbanisation, the fact that over 50% of the world's population now live in cities? Is it because of climate change, that the atmosphere is warm and has more energy? Is it because of poverty, so poor people who don't have a choice, they can't leave, they can't relocate, they can't deal with the hazard when it happens? Or is it because we're building in risky areas, that we're building on floodplains? So whichever one you decide, I want you to explain your reasoning for it. I've got a link here to a video on National Geographic. I want you to watch this on Disasters 101. I want you to write down what those disasters are, and I want you to start thinking about what problems they actually create. Final thing for today, I'm going to put a spelling test on Show My Homework, just covering some of the key terms that we've covered during this lesson. The next lesson, we're going to start looking at our tectonic hazards. So until next time, take care. Bye-bye.